we can look at every moment in our lives as an opportunity to be either a part of the problem or be a part of the solution. And that's a big responsibility. No matter what might have gone wrong in our lives, that opportunity never, ever changes.
Absolutely. This almost impossible obligation is also the greatest calling that we all have. In the book, you talk about the liminal space between no longer and not yet. And a little bit ago, you were talking about this liminal space between the necessity of physical reality of life. There's bills and food and shelter and like real life responsibilities. And you mentioned that you forsook this spiritual path, and I think so many of us do feel this tension being pulled between the two. How do we bridge the gap between this work of being spiritual beings having a human experience, and is that gap just an illusion and we can hold both at the same time? Or what's this work here?
Yeah, I love that. All is good and eternal, and there's no human constraint, and yet live in this physical body and manage with this life. How do we not all do the splits? Part of it is the definition of the difference between relief and resolution. I think as humans, in our human experience, we're taught to settle for relief. And that's from our own personal experience as little children. When we get impacted or wounded, we have developed, for me, relatively ancient coping systems that I might, because they worked once when I was 5 years old, they then become, and they become a part of my subconscious database, they're going to get repeated automatically. And so each time that trauma that hurt me in the first place is touched upon or awakened, then I'm going to default to the same reaction that I used to have that might bring relief, but it's not actually resolving the issue. So the distinction between relief and resolution, I think, is very important and something to study and inquire into. And I think it also represents that moment you mentioned of the no longer but not yet, that if we are willing as human beings to enter a state of not knowing, to become the detective of the experience of not knowing what to do, something very special can happen. And yet the script that we're brought up with is that admitting that I'm confused about something is not just vulnerable, but it's showing a weakness. And actually, where there's the most confusion, there's the most possibility.